Good evening, tribe. My name is Darius Lester, your financial philosopher, and this is Mammoth Money Mindset. And today I have a very special guest with me, one that I met at FinCon last year. She's an amazing financial services member like myself. She helps out lots of dads and lots of grads. Miss Ruthie, the truth. Miss Ruth, would you like to say anything to the audience?
Oh, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'd love to say hello, everybody, and good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you all. Hey. All right, listen, I know this is not my show, this is your show, but I just wanted to definitely, I got to make sure I bring the energy to
For
all of
sure,
the
for sure.
dads and grads. So, it's your girl, Ruthie the Truth, your financial wellness coach, and your number one strategist for goal driven planning.
I like it. Beautiful intro, beautiful intro. So, on Mammoth Money Mindset, we like to try to focus on military members that have a desire to grow themselves, both personally, financially, start businesses, be entrepreneurs, start investing, just get extra money on top of their retirement checks and their disability checks. So my first question is for your coaching services, have you ever worked with a military member?
Mm, actually, yes, I have. As I was previously stating, I worked with a military spouse
Hmm.
that actually was a father, which was
Sure.
quite interesting because um, most people, when they think of military, they usually think of the man going to do the service and the woman staying home to take care of the kids. And it was actually the reverse.
Hmm.
It was quite interesting to give instruction and direction on, just some tips of how he can manage, you know, fatherhood as kind of like a single parent, within a single parent household. I'll put it that way. While his wife was in active duty, so.
For sure. Well, that's cool. Did I don't know. Do you think do you think that there are any challenges or struggles that you would face dealing with well, better question. So let's say you're working with somebody who's in the military,
Mhm.
and you're trying to help them budget, fix their finances. They got, $30,000 in debt, credit cards, all that good stuff. Would you feel confident in helping them even if, they had to deploy to, another country within the next 6 months or so? Like how would you tackle a client like that?
Very simple. I First and foremost, I would tell that military member and or their spouse to get this handy dandy Wheel of Life workbook
Mhm.
first. You I would not suggest them trying to tackle anything without the workbook. One, because life is challenging enough, right? It's complicated enough. And I've taken a lot of time to, kind of put my coaching strategies into the workbook.
Mhm.
So just to make it accessible for people, because, my prices are not like the cheapest, but it's because people need to learn that, investment starts with like yourself. Like you have to put money into you first, which is
Mhm.
how we met, right? Because we both invested in ourselves and it wasn't cheap. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like the overall cost of
Right.
being there, it was, yeah, it was a pretty
Yeah.
little,
The
for me
hotel
it
was
was a pretty little
hoteling.
penny. Right, right, right. But it's the mindset. It starts with the mindset. So if the person has the mindset to know, like, okay, I'm going to get a return on whatever this investment is,
Mhm.
that's the start. So if they don't have the workbook, then I know they're not really ready for anything. That I can't coach them. Like, they're not coachable.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Like, a person has to be coachable. And that's what makes really, that's ultimately what makes the success, is the person being willing to be led and to be coached through unfamiliar situations and unfamiliar scenarios in their life. That, you know, I I mean, I've not served time in the military, but I've had plenty of military aunts, uncles, cousins, and enough military family to know that, yeah, life is gonna life. And
Hmm.
when you're not there in the house for a significant amount of time, like 6 months, when they're out on deployment, that spouse has to learn how to manage without them. And then not only that, but even when they come back, I know, like, I speak to military people as well.
Sure.
Um, the PTSD is something that kind of also isolates them. It creates a sense of isolation that the civilians, like such as myself, we don't know. Like, we can't. It's almost like they're they're with us, but they're not,
Hmm.
because there's a disconnect.
Right.
And so, I don't practice the therapeutic approach of the, was it EMDR, or the therapeutic treatment of, like, kind of like reversing the PTSD. But
Hmm.
that is one key factor that I've been told is, it's a challenge in the household for veterans
For
and
sure.
their significant others or spouses, whichever.
Uh, I do want to go back to your book, right? Um,
Yes.
what was the title of it again?
So it's called the Wheel of Life
Gotcha. Will of
workbook.
Life workbook, right?
Yes.
Thought it was real fire the way, because I assume you probably done that a lot. It was like, you was like, I know they ain't ready to work with me if they ain't buy my book. Just,
No, but that's
just
real.
what? No, I love it.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
real
it.
talk though,
I love
because
it. I
because
know
I
it made
tried.
sense. It made perfect
Yeah.
sense. I'm like, ooh, 'cause like you said that, you was like, first thing I do is get this book because it starts with self. If they ain't investing in themselves, if they're not ready, if they don't understand the positives that will come out of making a monetary investment, in their future, with just this, there's no way they're gonna appreciate what I'm giving, when I'm just makes
It's not
sense to
gonna
me.
resonate. Yeah, they
This is
they have
fire.
to.
I was like, I need to get a book. I'm trying to do that. I was like,
Well, I do
let's
have a
do it
free.
right there.
I also have a free demo, so I want people to know that it is accessible for
Sure.
free. Yes, if they send me a DM, they can DM me WOLW Wheel of Life Workbook, and on Instagram, and I will send them a free demo, a link to
Hmm.
my free demo, and they can try it out before they make it. Just, because
Sure.
when some people may have low risk tolerance,
Hmm.
and
Gotta make
and
sure
that's a
it's
great.
real.
Right. Exactly. And I usually suggest for them, like, even if they want to do that for 8 weeks, because I've been in a situation where I could not afford to invest in myself, right?
Hmm.
Not monetarily anyway, but time is money. So I
Sure.
was able to put the time into kind of, the next steps and next phases of my life. So um I've been there myself. And
Hmm.
so because I've personally been there myself, I know the struggle of not being able to have the monetary, you know, opportunity to even purchase the book. So I
Right.
offer, I do want people to know that it's not just a pitch to sell. It's really a way of life, and it's a lifestyle adjustment, because
Hmm.
that's what this book is all about. It's all about navigating the major life transitions. So um yeah, that's like the philanthropy
Sure.
side of what it is that I do. So
No,
they
I
could
like it.
definitely, yeah. And then, they can get, depending on where they rate themselves. So, when they check it out, I'm not going to say too much, because I want people, if I'm giving it for free, then I definitely want them to, like, take action. That's,
Right.
Ruthie D truth. That first T in truth is take
Mhm.
immediate action. So um, that's a part of my values with the coaching process that I do.
Sure. Nope, that's cool. Because I made a book. I wouldn't give none of it for free. I'd have stuck with that original junk. Like, hey, y'all ain't serious if y'all ain't buying this. So that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it
Oh,
right there. Let me know. Let me
oh,
know. Nah, you gotta weed them out. You gotta weed them
that's
out.
no, no, but I'm telling you, a lot of what I learned, I didn't pay. I didn't have in the beginning. I
Sure.
won't say, over time, once I got my footing, we're talking about somebody with $30,000 of debt.
Hmm.
I didn't even have debt. I just didn't have money.
For sure.
So now, you asked me about somebody with in debt, like somebody in debt that really in need of this. So, I want to make it accessible. I'm not mean, I'm not
All
going.
right. I don't think
Now I'm not.
it's
No, I'm
no.
no judgment. No judgment. I'm not
No,
saying you're
no, no,
mean,
no,
but
no. I don't know. My friends call me mean all the time, so that's fine. That's not anything new. But no, right? I'm in a similar business, right? Coach Rob, but if you got $30,000 in debt, from what I've seen, just a lot of people, you have the money to buy the book. Because I guarantee, how much does your book cost?
the price is going up. So this one is lower. This one is like around $35 after,
Hmm.
it all depends if they have Amazon Prime and, all of
Sure.
that stuff, the shipping costs may be different, but about on a higher end, 35. But the dads and grads edition is actually going to include more like checklist and,
Hmm.
more details. So that's going to be $50 to start,
Sure.
because it's the self-guided version of my coaching. So again, they have to do the work.
Right.
They want me to do the work,
It
then
gonna
they're gonna
cost. Hey,
have
as it should. So
and I
my
can do it
point,
because I got the time.
I guarantee you, every single person with $30,000 in debt, if they had whatever they had that allowed them to get to, $30,000 debt, they probably on a weekly basis spend that 35 to $50 on stuff they don't need. Nope, every single one.
Okay. I
Call,
mean,
call, call somebody that. Call one of your people in debt. And I want to ask it. All right, you getting this dessert this week? So you ain't get no candy bars. You ain't get no Monster
yeah.
Energy.
I'm
You
so
ain't get
silly.
no you ain't supersized nothing.
But sometimes people need things to be functional. So I don't discredit that. Hey, listen, I welcome, because I want people like the way I do things, right? Because I'm very strategic, right?
Sure,
So my strategy, even with the freebies, right? Because that's not the only freebie, but
of
that's the
course.
main one that I'm like, all right, listen. So the strategy behind the freebie is like, okay, if you didn't take action on something that was free, then that means if I ever see your name, if I don't see your name on my freebie list, you can't get an appointment with me. Like
I like it.
you will not step over the process. So you're either gonna get the freebie, like it's still weeding it out. You
Sure.
still are going through a process, but the person is either on the list from the freebie,
Right.
or they're on the list from the workbook, or they're not on the. They'll have the workbook. They'll
Hmm.
tell me. They'll send me evidence to be like, hey, I got the workbook. But then there's some people that have the workbook and they
Yeah.
don't work
And that's,
the
that's
workbook.
that's the thing.
And yeah, history. I guess they just want to embrace it. This is the first one. The next one is going to be digital, so that way it's more accessible. They don't have to worry about delivery. Like again, I'm all about accessibility,
Yeah,
which
hey,
but,
gotta
but
be.
that's why it's going to cost a little more, because it takes. I don't do technology like that, so
Hmm.
now that's time. It's extra time that I have to make it more accessible, and yeah, but
For sure.
if they see the cover on my Instagram, the cover is much more improved than this one. So,
Hmm.
and the content inside is equally as improved. So,
Right.
Yeah.
What what made you decide to make a book?
I'm so glad you asked me that question.
Mm,
You don't have to be scared. Um, so the reason why I'm glad is because the purpose behind it initially is something that most fathers, I'm gonna say, they don't talk about, right? And so what had happened was this was about a year ago, around the time that my 1 year podcast anniversary is coming up on the 22nd, right?
hmm
So around this time last year, I was going around to different fathers and just randomly at random asking them um, questions, right? So as a podcaster, I didn't really brand new. I didn't know what questions to ask, right?
Sure.
And I realized there's a way to ask questions, and that father made me realize it, and I'll tell you why, right? So, I asked him like, the general question was, "Hey, um, I'm surveying fathers, and I wanted to know what was your experience like before, during, and after becoming a father for the very first time, right?" And his response was um, it was traumatic because he suffered a miscarriage.
hmm
And I was completely blown away by this response because I'm like, oh, I just opened Pandora's box. What
Uh-huh.
am I going to do? Like, but I couldn't respond that way because,
Sure.
that's not how coaches respond, right? So it, that response like haunted me for the longest because I felt so bad like this man was about to literally like cry. I just triggered a trauma, like a traumatic experience by the question that I asked innocently because I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't know that fathers have like a significant um emotional attachment to a child, to an unborn child.
hmm
I never knew that. And what was crazier was the fact that I used to work in the hospital and I was a labor and delivery registrar.
Mm,
So when we had to do like I was the person that did the paperwork. I drew up the death certificates for unborn children, stillborn babies. Like it hit me in a different kind of way. I say all of that to say it really hit me hard and it took me a while to like figure out like damn how what do I do? And so that's ultimately he. I've never told him this story, but he knows I'm on the podcasting thing, and he didn't really want to come on my podcast to talk about it because it was very,
sure.
I guess, like emotional, and he I just let him talk. So that was the only thing I could because I didn't. There was nothing else I couldn't say. I didn't have a response. And
Right.
so he did end up explaining to me that he ended up going on like Facebook and finding, digging for grief support for fathers of unborn children and
Mm,
stillborn children. And I just, that has never left me. And I wanted to make sure that I had something tangible that I could give to anybody, no matter what their response would be. Like with any
hmm
question that I ask, I mean, needless to say, I kind of took a seat back from asking questions that
Sure.
for a bit. But yeah, I that's what um influenced me to make the decision to like self-publish a workbook and make it available for him to be able to journal because it's in the book. You have pages like journaling pages, so you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how you're feeling in each of the 8 major categories that of life that are both directly impacted by both your mental health and your finances.
hmm
So for that category, it would have been family, right? And that wasn't the first. Like as he was talking, I learned that wasn't the first miscarriage. So he was. grieving multiple children, unborn children, or
Right.
stillborn children, and one of which was a twin. And I was just like, I'm,
Yep.
yeah, that kind of tore me up a little bit. But, you know, that's what I love about what I do, but also the workbook. And this is why I'm, you know, expanding it to add more value to it. It's just the fact that it's a healing. It's not only healing for the person. It actually it heals me, right?
Hmm.
So every time a person, like, I can see them utilizing the workbook, and
Hmm.
you know, just when I get feedback from it, it's like, oh my, like, it helps me heal, because that's what I always wanted to do. So most people don't know I had to drop out of college. I don't even know if I told you my story of, like, how I got into financial wellness coaching, period.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So I guess I'll share. So I was 23. It was my Jordan year. I told what's his name. It's between my Jordan year and my Kobe Bryant year.
Sure.
So back in 2012, my father had passed away suddenly, and during that time, I was about 2 years into my marriage. My children were my son was 2 years old, my daughter was four, and no, was it? Yeah, yeah, they were about two and four. um, yeah, and I was just struggling. I was taking 14 credits in college. I managed to pray and push my way through getting an associate degree, but in end getting accepted into the social work program at the college. But because of me going, like, I had like a mental breakdown, and I fell into really deep depression, because I was like having to make like really hard financial decisions in my early 20s, and I'm like,
Hmm.
it was just a lot of pressure on me. And um you know, being married did not help the situation, especially not with two young children, and
Sure.
they're two different ages, which means they go into two different, places. Like, my son wasn't old enough to go into my daughter's daycare, and I guess, was a lot of pressure on him. So he decided, you know, he was gonna let me figure it all out, and
Hmm.
I couldn't do it. And I did something, I figured some kind of something out.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it ultimately, that was my turning point in life. Like, once I started achieving things after having nothing, and having to rely on, like, WIC, which is a government resource for women, infant, and children, for
Hmm.
people who don't know, and welfare, which I never wanted to go on child support, never wanted to go through that process, because I felt like I wanted to beat the stereotypes. Like, I didn't
Right.
want to live in the stereotypes. And then I was like, God was like, nah, you gonna live through all of this stereo, like, you
Hmm.
gonna. And I was like, God, what the heck are you like? What is going on? Like, it was just a lot. It was a lot going on for me at the time, and um, once I started pushing through all of the what I thought I was never going to come out from,
Hmm.
which included suicidal thoughts. I actually had a cousin that had successfully committed suicide around that time, and that messed me up, because I'm like, her daughter and my daughter were born like a month or two apart,
Hmm.
and now, like, it was just like, it was like my world was ripping apart, and I did not think I was going to ever come out of that. And so the fact that I did, I felt like there was something I had to do to help me stay in a state of stability, like my mental stability, and
Mm-hmm.
also something that I wanted to do to continue to live out my father's legacy as well as my brother, because he was a graduate. He graduated with a bachelor's in communication. So like the dads and grads is really kind of like my way of healing by healing others. You know how I say
Sure.
hurt people. So like I feel like, as Ruthie the Truth, I'm a healed person that wants to heal people or help to heal other people.
Sure.
And yeah, and so I'm like the workbook hopefully will do a lot of that and help to um I guess catapult people into a more optimistic way of optimistic perspective of life. And because life, people always say, oh, life is life. And but I want to kind of change that. Like, nah, when you see the wheel of life, you're gonna know that you can you can make it. Like, you're going to make it. Not that you
For
can,
sure.
you will make it, because you're not alone. And I felt like I was that entire time. But luckily there was people. I did a work study program. So um I worked in the bursar's office at the college, and I didn't realize at the time, like, oh, that's finance. So sitting with the accountant, cutting the checks for tuition reimbursement, and helping her do all her accounting things. Like, they saw that something wasn't right, so they kind of like had the accountant keep an eye on me.
Mm.
Now that I'm looking back retrospectively, and it worked out, because that was like, it was divine intervention. But I
Mm-hmm.
say it felt more like an accident. Like, how did I just end up in the bursar's office out of all of the places on campus to
Right.
intern during during the time that I was enrolled? And yeah, it allowed me to have a lot of insight to debt, because all of those not all, majority of those college students were coming to the bursar's office because they had stops on their program. They had to figure out how to, you know, pay their tuition in order to enroll for the next classes. And
Right.
they pretty much scripted me to like handle these situations. And because I guess they wanted to keep my mind from, I guess, derailing. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just, yeah, the way everything happened was just so like, it was God. Like, I can't even say
Yeah.
anything other than that. And that's why behind me you see the serenity prayer. Like, this is the prayer I pray every single day. And that's why I keep it behind me now, because as I continue to come on podcasts and tell my story, I realize like that's something people need to know. Like, the basis of who I am and what I do. Like, I pray for people. I pray for their finances. Any client I take on, they will know that somebody's praying. There's a song like "My Mama Prayed for Me, Had Me on Her Mind," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Took the time to pray for me. Like, I'm so glad they prayed for me. That's me. Like, anybody who retains my services, I'm praying for them. Like, I'm praying for them, their family, their situation, because I'm able to see what it is that they're going through, that they don't necessarily feel that they can communicate to anyone else, because for it could be many reasons. It could be wherever the environment is, they don't have anybody that may be knowledgeable. They could probably just feel stuck. Um, it could be women in domestic violence situations. I was, and you know, I mean, my mom, between her and the police,
Mm-hmm.
in between, like, and the women at the birth start, like, they saw me in distress.
Right.
And you know they pretty much kind of helped me get out of that, but I felt alone, because I'm like, okay, nobody's like attentive to tell me these are the next steps to take in order to be in a better position. I just
Sure.
kind of was like falling deeper and deeper into my mess. And until I got hired on welfare. I got my first full-time job on welfare. Never knew that was a thing
Hmm.
until, whatever, like until I ended up in that situation. So I had to like kind of go through it to get to,
Sure.
yeah, like get past it. And then I ended up on unemployment because they lost the contract. It was, yeah, my financial story,
Hmm.
how I went through everything in life. It is just, it amazes me. And I say that humbly because, like, I can't, I still can't fathom how I made it through, like even like the song. So I'm very, I sing. And so I'm like into the church. So there's a song that says, like, so glad I made it. I made it through. It's by Marvin Sapp. I can't remember. I think it's called My Testimony.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, like sometimes I just have to listen to that to just kind of remind myself, even now, like sometimes when I go through different grief, like my uncle just passed away, I was like feeling the grief because I didn't realize how much of a father he was,
Right.
more than my biological dad, because like he was there. Like he was cooking me pancakes in the morning before
Hmm.
I go on the school bus, or like, when I bought my house, like I needed to change the toilet and I called him up. He was teaching me how to change the toilet. Like I learned how to change the toilet, a tire, oil change. Like there was so many different things, tune up. Like he taught me how to survive in life. And that going through that loss, even me, like I guess God wants me to show people, like,
Hmm.
I am not exempt from still going through losses in life, but I'm going to use my own product to
Sure.
exemplify the fact that like it works, and like you can still get through it. Like you made it, I made it through. So I play that song like all the time when I feel like, man, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna get through this? Just play that song by Marvin Sapp, and it's kind of like music is my therapy, and that's why I
Hmm.
sing tonight. I sing Good Morning
Right.
because it's just it's to bring a more positive vibe into the thing. Well, people say, they ask me, why do I say good morning, even if it's at night, like any time of the day,
Hmm.
evening, whatever, afternoon, night. I'm like, no,
Sure.
because of that scripture. I believe it's Psalms 30. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. So
Gotcha.
I want people to know that when they see Ruthie the Truth, no matter what they're going through in life, and no matter how difficult it may feel or seem, like joy, when they hear me sing Good Morning,
Hmm.
they can always resonate that with joy and with that scripture to keep them encouraged. So I know that was very long winded. I didn't mean to
Nah,
ramble
you're
like that.
good. You're good. You're good. You was getting into the rhythm. You was just like, oh, that did happen. I went through this, and hey, that's real. And I think all those experiences that you had, I'm sure definitely help you now, in aiding other people. It's like, oh, that I got stories, man. Yep, this and that. Yeah. Oh, you got to pay that. I remember that. Yep, you got to wait in that line. Does Keisha still work there? The unemployment? Yep, yep. She used to hook me up. I used to I used to sell my food
Did
stamps to uh
it's
uh
right. It's so real because like and I wasn't taking selfies in the welfare office,
right.
right? And I'm like, come on. When I see some people, I'm like, I know you were in the welfare. Like, why are you rocking the latest Jordans?
Hey,
And you know what I'm saying? Like, how
see,
let's make it make
see,
sense.
that's where I was coming from earlier, and you was like, nah, people need them.
Yeah,
People,
no,
people.
but my thing is that they if you're gonna take a selfie on it, like with your Jordans, take
Hmm.
a selfie in a welfare. Let show people the full picture.
People ain't
Show
gonna
them
do
the
that.
whole. And I really wish I would have been taking selfies in the welfare office because
It'd have been
people would
good.
have saw how stressed I was.
You know, and
with them
it's
kids, like
and
with no
it's
child care and yeah.
and it's good to to show the come up. Like if you know you're going somewhere, take pictures while on your way there. So then
Right,
later on you can look back and appreciate where you're at because a lot of people get into that whole growth thing and then they always want more, and then it's like sure it's just natural to want more, but it's like how many years ago you would have killed to be where you at right now and have all the stuff you got. You ain't got what Cindy May got, but you got a ton. You got way more than 5 years ago you had. Like,
right.
oh,
Absolutely. Sure.
mm, so I have, yeah, I have one more question to ask you.
Go ahead with
Um, so for your business,
it.
um, describe your ideal client.
Mm, my,
Like, yeah, if somebody came into your office, into your DMs, into your whatever, and they were just like, I'm so and so, I work here, I got this going on, my family's this, and that, like, you'd be like, yes, this is amazing. I'm perfectly equipped to help this person right now. I don't got to read nothing extra. I ain't got to study nothing. This right here, everything they just said right here, I got that.
Okay. All right.
Don't say
So
everybody.
no, 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 no.
All right, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm way past that stage. I don't went for enough people to realize
Uh-huh.
not it.
Anybody, any situation, I got it. It's just like, all
No,
right, just
I would not. Yeah, that yeah, it's unrealistic. I'm
mm-hmm.
Ruthie the truth. So, um,
Oh,
if
it's
I
true. It's
could
in your
think,
name. I guess you can't lie.
yeah, I mean, it was given to me. So actually, I
Mm-hmm.
was gonna say the ideal client that I did have that actually gave me this name. Like that's who I'm going to describe.
Okay.
So that the client that gave me Ruthie the truth, that name that you see right
Sure.
there, um, was a father of two, um, was having issues with his children's mother, um, was laid off during the pandemic, worked construction, but was getting unemployment, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
guess the unemployment checks was good. It was good enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so he was at a point in his life where he was dating someone at the time, and she was in the projects, and he wanted to you know provide a more stable
Sure.
housing
Mm-hmm.
situation for her. However, she was not she wasn't there.
Right. That's the thing.
And right, so because that's what she was used to,
Mm-hmm.
change is not for everybody, and
Hey, it's
that's why I
super
was saying, like,
uncomfortable. Mm-hmm.
right. So that's why I said with the freebie, if they can't get the free, I know that they're not fit for change. They're not ready in their mindset. They're not ready for change. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want more for themselves in a way that's going to be productive in the long term. But he had to focus on himself and getting himself together. And he had thousands. I think he was in the six figures of student loan debt. I think it was like 170 something K in student
Mm-hmm.
loan debt.
Right.
Um, he dropped out of college, um, because I'm assuming because he couldn't pay that. I don't even know how he got to that point, but whatever it was, I
Sure.
don't know.
Right. Right.
But I was just like, I was getting to work. Like, all right, listen, forget all of that. Yeah, you got whatever's going on. Scratch that. What are your goals? And he told me right away. So my ideal client, they know what they want. They know what their goals are.
I do
And
like
they have
goals.
no problem telling me in 5 seconds, like, these are my goals. So
It is
his
amazing.
goal, yeah, his goal was housing, and to get at least, he said he wanted to get at least a 630 credit score,
Mm-hmm.
um, because he was told that that's how he was able to do it. But he had the fund, he had the funds, but he didn't have the credit score. And actually, his credit score is one of the screenshots that's on my Instagram that I have
Mm.
pinned. So whichever one that you see is like below 630, that was his score.
Right.
Um, and he was all stressed, and I was like, "Yo, chill, I got you. You already told me what your goal was, to be above 630. Boom. My brain is like a computer. So once you tell me what the goal is, I'm already strategized. I've said so.
Hmm.
For one, do you have, first of all, annualcreditreport.com? Run your credit, like get copies from Experian, from Equifax, and from TransUnion, because you're gonna be looking at one of the. You're gonna focus on one.
Hmm.
You want to have all three, but you'll look for discrepancies to see what's inconsistent across the board for three, and process of elimination, knock everything out that is not serving your goal on
Hmm.
your credit report. And from there, he took every single step that I gave him. And in less than a month, his score jumped to almost I believe it was 100. I don't remember exactly the number, but I want to say about 100 points.
Nice.
Actually, it was 2 weeks. When people go on my my Instagram is at Ruthie D Truth, RUTHIETHEETRUTH. For anybody who can't see it, in case it's
Hmm.
audio. Yeah, check out my Instagram. When you look on there, you will see what the score was. The receipts are there, and yeah, and that was my ideal client. So somebody who is absolutely coachable. They can tell me their goal in 5 seconds or less, and they're not resistant. Because anybody who's resistant or they think they know, I'm like, all right, well, if you knew,
Right.
why are you coming to me?
Right. If you knew, you would do. And like,
Right. Or whatever you know, if it's not working, there's a reason why it's not
right.
working. So, like, have humility in this process. And he wasn't ashamed of the fact that I was a female giving him instruction,
Hmm.
even though, like, biblically, it's like the man is the head, and you
Sure.
gotta whatever. But he recognized that, like, no, even in that scenario, God created Eve, like, woman, to be of help. And
Right.
so I guess however he computed, he and that too, he was a believer. He was a God fearing man.
Hmm.
So because he was a God fearing man, he knew, like, this is what is supposed. It's like a divine order. Like, you can't. He could not do everything himself, and so
Right.
he trusted me enough to do this. And once he got those results, he was like, "Yo, Ruthie, you are the truth." Like, and from there, he influenced me. He told me, like, "Yo, you know how many people need this?" And I'm like, "No," because I didn't know.
Right.
We were talking
Yep.
about earlier, like, I'm in
Hmm.
my own world of norms, so I had no clue. And he knew people from college that needed help. Like, he knew more other guys that needed help, and so um yeah, he just kind of did that. And then I had mediation sessions with him and his children's mother, like, on Google Meet, um, and her significant other, and we figured out what her goals were. It turned out, like, I had a similar um, cadence, like, her and my personality were very similar.
Gotcha.
So, but he couldn't get along with her because there were differences, that she's just not as morally sound as I was.
Sure.
But I knew finance, and so with her, she didn't subscribe to the world of, like, being financially sound
Hmm.
and whatever. So she's like stressing him for money for the kids because she had the children, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not giving you money. You're just gonna blow it on some randomness,
Yeah.
and
That's a hard.
it's not going to my
Yeah.
children." She didn't subscribe to child support, so that was the issue. And um, ultimately, I was like, "Yo, when is everybody available? I'll send out a Google Calendar invite." This is before I set everything up, by the way. And yeah. And every single session, like within, really, it was almost instantaneous that they were able to get along, because at first it was like, oh, I'm not available. I'm not
Mhm.
like, they weren't available for each other. Like, you're not gonna
Right.
tell me what time to be available. No, you're not gonna tell me what time to be available. I was like, listen, how about 8 o'clock?
Mhm.
Is anybody available for 8 o'clock? And then they both said,
Sure.
for Ruthie, yes. And that, oh, it helped even the children. We had the children on the call. It was a very harmonious process that just happened so naturally and organic. And yeah, and sometimes they were able to talk for hours as if it was nothing, whereas prior to me being in the picture, they couldn't be on the phone for like 5 seconds.
Mhm.
They constantly at battle, and he's like, no, you just like, she had to send him message. Everything had to be documented. Like he
Yeah.
forced her to document everything, because whatever. I guess she would say one thing on the
Sure.
line, and then something, right? Whatever. I don't know, because I didn't want to get too deep into it,
Right.
but yeah. So I actually, that is a gift that I have too, is the co-parenting,
Mhm.
mediation part. But I have not focused on that, because that was just a one-off type of thing. I mean,
Right.
not that it couldn't happen again, but
Sure.
um yeah, they neither of them kind of like gave me testimonials about like how well that actually worked. So I was just like, okay, maybe it didn't really
Did you ask them?
work. They've said it. Yeah, back then, we're talking 3 years ago. Well, what are we in? That was back in what, 2021, I think.
Well, I'm
Or
wondering, did you vocally ask them,
oh, like
could
present
you
day,
give me a testimonial?
not present day.
Hmm. So that's something I'm working on myself. Because I think it's just natural for a lot of people not to. Some people, every blue moon you'll get somebody that just will because they just it's called upon to them to sing your praises. But yeah, I'm starting to be more intentional with being like it's like I know I did some good stuff for this person. I don't know how good they think I was or whatever. So I'll just do, hey, could you give me a testimonial or a review? You can write it, you can make a video, whatever. If I'm terrible, tell me I'm terrible so I know what to work on. But
Right.
if you could, I'd appreciate it. And I've gotten a lot more since I started asking as opposed to not asking, which when you say it out loud, that makes sense. But it's a thing I think we all should do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a part of me is a little traumatized from the question asking
Hmm.
part of this. Although I know that's a me thing. Like, I have to work through that,
Hmm.
because I guess the expectation is almost like, if something worked, you would want to tell the person that it worked. I mean, I'm sure I have like text messages I could probably screen shoot, and
Sure.
I'm sure I have plenty of those. I'll have to look back, but yeah, I guess, yeah, I guess,
Do it.
yeah, that could be a part of it. Yeah, the
Do it.
follow up. You're right. You're right.
Do
I
it.
will.
Because real story, yes, yesterday I got somebody to agree to be my client because they watched a testimonial from another person. Like I just straight up, I was talking to him. I was like, hey, I'm pivoting now. I'm still doing financial coaching, but I'm focusing on my military people doing businesses, stuff like that. This was a woman who just retired, and I think what did she say? She's about to get Smoothie King. She's trying to do a franchising thing.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I was like, oh, that's cool. She's doing that, and she's trying to open a daycare. Like she's trying to do it all. She's hype on it, and I'm with it. I'm talking to her, giving her like little suggestions and something like that, and no, it's just real cool. But I just been talking, right? Sometimes you'll
mhm.
talk to people and you'll bounce a lot of ideas off, and you'll give them a lot of stuff, and it's like you should You should hire me. You know, gotta just throw it in there. Um, so I did that and I had said it, and then she was kind of like, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay," just kind of like you could feel through the message it was on the fence, um, or just let me just so this was through messages,
Oh,
and
oh, oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This was through Messenger, and then I had got this testimonial a while ago, but the testimonial was from a retired military person who just talked to and helped. This I didn't even charge this person or whatever. She used to be my old supervisor years ago. Uh, but all the stuff that I told her about, she was implementing, and I think she's putting in her like 2 week notice, like this week or something like that. So she had retired from the military, but she had got like another job, and
Okay.
she's about to be done with that job. So she's retiring fully, because she's just gonna live off of the like other little income stream she started. So she's just not gonna have another job for the rest of her life. And she was saying it was because of the stuff that I told her about. So she put that stuff into her testimonial, which is an amazing testimonial. She's like, "Hey, this person helped me retire early," which is great, right? Everybody dreams of that.
Yes.
Right. So I was just freaking shamelessly threw that junk in the little messages. And yep, she watched it and she was like, "Wow, I love that." And she was like, "Let's do it." And I was like, "Okay." So that works. People love testimonials. It's like you can explain why your process works so much. You can be like this and this. I got all these dreams for you, and that's cool. But having somebody else say it and they
Oh,
see it, it just hits
yes.
different.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and so what I've noticed, and I mean, maybe correct me where I may be wrong, is that a lot of some people can be very prideful,
sure.
like, and so even if you do help them, like back in that time, in that era of like pre up and coming Ruthie the Truth, um, I didn't have the vetting process that I have now.
Mm,
And so I noticed there was a lot of that, like, people who they are in need, but their pride won't let them expose
mhm,
what they are going through in their life. And in all fairness, when I had a previous podcast interview, I had to even admit that for me, right? Like, even what I just shared with you about my distress, my mental health
mhm,
distress that I was in, like I never shared that with people. Like, that's because there was such a stigma connected to just mental health, like having a mental breakdown. I mean, people will talk about it, but like I'm talking about like really talk about it, like to the point where I was going to end my life.
mhm,
And people don't talk about that. Most of the time they just do it, but I had to learn, even for me, like maybe I was projecting that energy of just kind of like reservation of just not exposing myself, exposing whatever I'm doing. And if this woman is more of a spender, she's the Jordans, the person with the Jordans at the welfare line.
mhm.
That's like me asking her, okay, can you take a selfie at the welfare line? Like that's what it seems like. But I will try again, and I'm gonna take your advice, and I'll let you know. Actually, I'll do exactly how you're suggesting. Is just to send a message, right? That's what you're saying. Well, I mean, I know you say ask, but you didn't say like what the mode. But I'm
Mhm.
assuming you say you did the
Yeah,
messenger.
yeah. I think because I'm planning on making it a commercial, so I was like, some testimonials would be good to be in my commercial. So that's what prompted me to even just ask outright. And yeah, I just reached out to like people I felt I've worked with either multiple times or something like that, where we have some sort of rapport. And I was just like, hey, trying to make a thing. Can you, give me a testimony or give me a review? And I was like, I would like it in video format. So, and they were like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. Yep. And they did it. And they were like, yep. Most of them sent me like two or three. And they were like, I kept
Mm,
messing up. So yeah, no, it was just like, I was real nervous and doing, people recording
right.
themselves and they was like, here's this one, just pick the best one. Actually, don't use that one, use this one. I didn't like my hair in that one. Just all kind of stuff. But they did. They made those and honestly, they were made honestly. Another reason to do it, and it may feel vain-y or whatever, but it it made me feel really weird, like listening. Like I know I asked for a testimonial, but it's not like I gave them a script or anything, so I don't know what they're gonna say. And like listening to them, like I don't know. I try not to be an openly emotional person, which I mean, I don't know, probably a lot of men do. Um,
Yeah.
but like just in listening to them, kind of like openly sing my praises or like tell me how I affected them and like help, like it really, besides me getting that testimonial to use for whatever, just for myself, it kind of worked as like a motivator. And it's like, okay, just a soft reminder, like, hey, you're actually helping people. You're actually affecting lives. Like this person is vocally talking about, what you did for them and advising other people to because they felt it was so useful.
Mm,
So getting that too, I think is healthy. Like I can't listen to them for too long. Like I remember I was
mm.
trying to like chop one up, and it'll keep replaying while you're trying to chop it up. And I was just like, I had to like put it away for a while. I was like, I'm hearing this too much. Like it's getting too mushy in here. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, it's
but
it's
yeah, it's important to like you're gonna go through those feelings. Like I cried when I put this together. Like
hmm
publishing, like the process of growth. There's grief in growth, and
hmm
like grief is just different. So like accepting the fact that maybe growing up you not have never really received words of affirmation, like to affirm your value, and then now getting to a point in life where you're not just valuable to you, but you're valuable to others and their families and like the generations to come behind them from the work that you're doing. It's like it's something bigger than you.
right.
And yeah, it's a thing.
It is the thing. But call
And
it.
I, yeah, I was gonna say, come to think about it, she did have a YouTube channel, and
Who?
the baby mama.
The
I
Jordan?
used to have that. Yeah, the I had like a webinar. I created it. No more drama with your baby mama
Mm,
from that whole scenario.
gotcha.
Yeah, so her and her significant, they, I don't know, there was a whole situation there, but I may have recorded them kind of giving a testimonial because they had me on um their YouTube,
Sure.
but yeah, they, it's a little scamish type of situation going on. So that's the thing too. Like I guess whatever they were doing, it's no longer.
Mm,
It used to be on my highlights, like the promo, but it's not there anymore. So I don't know if they took their channel down. I don't
stuff
know.
down. Right.
I'm gonna check. Yeah. Either way, yeah, it was.
That's good.
My,
It's a
my,
good
my,
experience.
yeah, my whole life has been a very interesting experience. I mean, when
It's
people
good.
really, come out with my tell-all book,
hmm
it's gonna be uh,
For
quite a
sure.
read.
That's good. And I'm a big advocate for relationship counseling. Um, Me and my wife, who was previously my girlfriend, we went like we started dating very intentionally. Like we were pretty affirmed in the whole, hey, we get married, that's it. We ain't no switching, ain't no I ain't feeling this no more. Let's get to like, nope, we do that jump. That's it. We just locked in and we need to figure it out. Um,
Okay.
and that's the kind of energy we were like going into with like a few weeks like into dating. It was like, hey, this is if we get there, this is how I'm gonna go about the relationship. I'm like, okay. So I mean, maybe 2 months in, we went to like couples counseling, and like we do our counseling with another couple, and they were like, "Oh, how long have you guys been together?" And we're like, "Oh, 2 months." And they're like, "Huh?" And they were like, what are y'all doing here? Like, they weren't rude about it, but they were just like, yeah, people normally come here after they've been married a couple years or something like that. And
See?
yeah, we're just like, hey, no, we noticed some inconsistencies with our communication. We're fighting over weird stuff that we feel like we shouldn't be fighting over, but communication, it ain't there. So help us. And yep, we did that. We went to a good maybe 4 or 5 sessions with some different counselors just to get feedback on how to better handle each other and ourselves. And yeah, kind of like your experience, there's just something about having a third party just kind of
Oh,
be there. You
yes.
don't even got to do nothing crazy. You just be there and be like, hey, because if it's just you and one other person, you're like, hey, you're talking over me. You're talking over me, and da da da. But if there's a third party, it's like, hey, you were talking over them. You speak. Okay, thank you. Now you speak. That junk just is just different. It's just like, huh, it just works now. Like, I don't know. Uh,
Then
it's good.
yeah, I could agree. When I was going through my marital issues, that was the only thing that helped. And then we realized like we would have had to marry the therapist. And
Hey, you could ask, like, how you feeling? What do they call those?
I wasn't willing to.
Poly. You could.
No.
Yep, no, we brought a therapist in, and now we're good.
Nah, or I could just, let him marry the person, the next baby mother, and
Sure. Yeah, I
yeah,
guess
let
that.
them be a
Well, yeah, I
family
guess that would have been four, y'all. That'd have been a lot. That's, that's
for
yeah,
for
you,
five.
the other S.
It was
That's a
right. The
lot.
bun and oven.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, they say what they say. Two, three's a party. How does
Something
that
I don't
phrase
remember
go?
that. I know what you're talking about, but that, yep.
Way too crowded. But to your point, I know I seeing that too. I kind of joke a lot because it just helps. I just like to
Hmm.
overview.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, that um having a person. So one, I went through that both within the marriage and then also the relationship that I had afterwards. And
Hmm.
one tidbit that kind of took me by surprise was the fact that the therapist, like it was like the tele thing during the pandemic.
Right.
She asked, what are your non-negotiables?
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's a thing. And I never knew. And she was like, yeah, but the non-negotiables go along with your personality traits. So that's how I ended up learning, okay, there are four core personality traits, and if you don't have the right personality traits for each other, that's how you know that's how you can determine whether or not the relationship is going to be able to continue or not. And ultimately, you know my non-negotiables and his non-negotiables were like not meshing.
Right.
And I was like, okay, but it was amicable in both scenarios because, the first scenario I was like, okay, I can actually benefit from detaching from the situation. And then the second one was just like, well, this is not really gonna work because we didn't even discuss that. We just kind of were like friends that decided to become in a relationship because we both like to travel and you were single, I was single, but we never had
Yeah.
like that was never the goal. Like, So that's why I tell people all the time, like, what is your goal? Like that is the key to life. Like, what are your goals? What are your
Right.
values? And if you don't know, he didn't have a well, he did have goals, but his goals were not. It was a part of my non-negotiable, which was another kid, and
Okay. Yeah.
that yeah wasn't gonna work. So, but that's great that like you started that earlier on. I feel like people don't do that enough. They don't get the intervention earlier on in the
Yeah.
relationship because they're just maybe like not coming to terms with the fact that like I don't know, maybe they're just trying to follow society norms. I put it that way. But
Yeah.
like when you kind of break the society norm, like it's
Right. Because I was like, yeah, because there's a whole bunch of society norms that don't even make sense. I don't know, people be like, don't talk about finances until after you're married. What? What kind of sense does that make?
then who raised you?
You know, like, but there's a lot of people that subscribe to that. It's like, oh no, I'm not talking about mine. No, why you need to know about this and this and that? Why like you ain't my husband? Like, it was like,
Right.
I want to know that before I become that. Like, what do you like you see mine? I'm open with all my stuff. Yeah, no, I was. I'm telling you, I might do something with her one day because yeah, I'm telling you, our first date, I'm just like, so
The first date
what's
though.
that credit what's the credit looking like? What's your debt to income ratio? What is your 5-year plan? I need to know. I ain't here to mess around. You cute, but I ain't that ain't enough. I need to know what's
Give me
going
a
on.
short term goal.
Yes, I need all of
You
it because
came through with the questionnaire.
I got
Oh
plans, I got ambitions. I ain't trying to waste my time. I ain't trying to waste your time. So let's just let me know right now. You know, this and this. I'm planning on doing this. My goal is to make this much money. If that makes you uncomfortable, I ain't the one for you. There's this and this. I'm in the military. We ain't gonna be here. So if you want to stay here for your whole life, I ain't the one for you. Just all of that. Kids. I want kids. I ain't got none. So if you ain't trying to have no more kids, I ain't the one for you. That's the thing.
Right.
That's okay.
It,
Let's kill it now on the
yeah.
first date. Let's just all right. I ain't trying to waste your time. I ain't trying to waste. I'm definitely not trying to waste my time. So hey, nope. And honestly, I'm telling you, everything did all that, and we was like, nope, it's still good. And that just, I feel like that propelled like our relationship because
Mm,
that let us get through like stuff faster because we weren't just hanging out, going on dates, talking about favorite colors, what clouds look like, just kind of slow poking throughout months and months, and then be like, oh, now what do you plan on doing with it? Like, yeah, no, we were super intentional at the beginning, and now it's like, well, now that we already have all this important stuff talked about and understood, and we're cool with this, now we can grow these feelings and love and all this stuff because now it's
yes.
safer. Now yeah, I feel like honestly, I feel like that makes more sense than doing it the opposite way.
Yes, because you need. It's like there's a destination, right?
Hmm.
And so that's like taking a road trip. And you just taking a road trip, but you never put the GPS on.
Hmm.
Like
Yep, just
if you're
driving.
driving cross country, any yeah, like when you have the GPS and you have the destination,
Hmm.
even if there's something happening along the journey, you're kind of prepared ahead of time to navigate that challenge. So you can, if you need to make a detour because the truck done exploded on the expressway and you gotta kind of take the scenic route, then
Hmm.
you already know ahead of time. All right, if there's a truck that explodes on the expressway, we're gonna
Right.
have to take the scenic route.
Hmm.
It makes perfect sense. You see?
For sure.
which makes sense as to why you got all your wonderful testimonials. It just
Stuff.
that's the beauty of this, of
Stuff
this
works
field.
out.
Yep, yep.
But
So
we're done.
okay.
Yep.
Well, thank
Yep.
you. I appreciate you for
Beautiful.
having.
Yep. No, always a pleasure. And I know we just, it's nice. It's a nice vibe. Talk about all kind of stuff throughout life. This could be 8 hours easily. Um, that's why we're going to be intentional about stopping it. Um,
That
um,
makes sense. Yes.
mhm. So I guess before I wrap, I know you've mentioned it a couple times, but just mentioning it again. The book, Instagram, where to find you, all that good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So, um, the easiest way to find me is through my website, www.ruthie, Ruthie, not a Y, truth, truth.com. So ruthiethetruth.com. That goes straight to my website. Once that pops up, you'll have access to my Instagram link, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and Spotify. So whichever platform any of the viewers or whichever one they vibe with, you can find me all over. Um, Also, this book is on Amazon, but if you would like to get exclusive access to my Dads and Grads edition, then you can go to www.ruthiethetruth.com/waitlist. So I highly encourage all of the dads and grads that are watching this episode to run to that link so that way you do not miss out, because this one is outdated already. Like, this one's about to be obsolete. It's just here because the updated one is going to be digital. So,
Sure.
I don't have the digital little screen to kind of like display that yet, but I guess I will make a few print just for the sake of it. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Sounds
But
good.
everybody's telling me, no, do digital. I was like, technology.
Mm.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, I'll do a little bit of both because I know people are gonna need it. And yeah, that is where you can find me. Oh, did I say you? I didn't even say YouTube. Yes, I have a YouTube channel also.
You mentioned it.
YouTube.com/@RootToBeTruth, or Darius Lester. You can find me. All my links, I'm sure, will be
Yep.
in the
I'm gonna
bio
throw them all on
description.
there.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm always in the comments, so y'all can just
Hmm.
look through Darius's comments, and you'll see me there. And yeah,
It is. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Ruthie, the truth. Again, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I know we'd be talking. But my name is Darius Lester, your financial philosopher, and this is Mammoth Money Mindset. Good night.